everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am going to talk to you about something that is a little bit off the normal topics of this channel, I guess. But I want to talk to you about overreacting and personal responsibility. And I'm going to tell you why this is so important for especially victims of narcissistic abuse to be aware of. I really appreciate anybody who has commented and left suggestions for video topics. If you guys have a video topic that you want me to talk about, please put it in the comments of this video so that I can look through them. I like to be able to make videos not just of stuff that I see going on in society, but stuff that my viewers specifically want to hear about. So please let me know in the comments below. This conversation I actually had with my best friend, with one of my best friends. Her therapist had told her that there is no such thing as overreacting. And I was super surprised by that. And so, first of all, there is such a thing as overreacting, right? Like we can see this no matter where you go. Any level of society will have that. This is somebody who has road rage, for example. Like somebody does something to them in traffic, and yet we hear about people being shot over that, or being attacked over something that doesn't warrant that type of response, right? So there is such a thing as overreacting. And this is like, you know, in the international realm, we can't just go around hitting the nuclear button every time that somebody makes us angry. We need to think about what the situation is, what's been done, what the outcome is that we would like to have happen, and then choose consequences appropriately from there. The way that this conversation actually came up is because I had shared something with her that I had put on my social media. I had retweeted or whatever on Instagram somebody's quote that basically said, when you don't eat a meal, when you skip eating meals, you overeat. When you skip having conversations, you overreact. And I completely agree with that. Most of the time when we're overreacting, it's because in our own mind, we've had a conversation that we've never actually had out loud with the other person, or we have had conversations in our own mind with our own selves about a situation, but we actually haven't come to an agreement within ourselves. So we haven't said to ourselves, this is going to be the boundary. You know, this thing is causing me distress. This issue, this person, this circumstance, whatever it is causing me distress. And so to handle that, this is going to be the boundary, and this is going to be the consequence that I'm setting up. This is why I'm so about having things written down. This is why, you know, I have several different bundles that you can purchase, and they all require you to do work on them. Like you need to print them off and write in your specific goals, your specific boundaries, your specific consequences, and make these predetermined choices that are written down, because a lot of times people have these conversations in their mind, but they're not actually committed to them. And so what happens is that you get upset at your own self for not being committed to those things that you've already talked about. You know, the same issue has gone on and on and on. That's draining for you. That's frustrating to you. And so you take it out on the other person, especially when you're dealing with a narcissist or actually any type of toxic person. You know what you're going to get. You already know that they're not capable of being in a healthy relationship. And so you exploding on the narcissist, or you having rage against somebody else because of the narcissist, is an overreaction to a problem that you didn't properly address. Sometimes it can take us time to understand that, to get to a place where we're able to address those things, but nonetheless, it's still our responsibility to do this. What happens a lot of time as well is that people will tend to overreact because they have unhealed trauma. They have unhealed events that have gone on in their lives. They have memories. They have been in a physical environment even that has caused them trauma, and they've never healed that wound completely. So you get them around that environment or that person, or even sounds or smells, that remind them of that traumatic event, even non-consciously, even if they aren't consciously thinking in their mind, this is reminding me of such and such a time. They don't need to consciously think that. Their body has memory, right? You have cellular memory, you have muscle memory, and your non-conscious mind has been recording everything that you've ever gone through. So your being has remembered it, even if it's not in your conscious mind, even if that memory is suppressed or repressed. You haven't thought about it. It doesn't matter. The memory of that event is still encoded in your body and in your non-conscious mind. And so when you get around those things, that's telling you, okay, I'm overreacting to this situation. There must be unhealed trauma here, and I need to sit and figure out what it is. And to do that, I've talked about this before, but you do the 5 whys. So you ask yourself, why am I reacting to this? Well, because this sound upset me. You ask yourself why that sound upsetted you. You understand, you keep going through the 5 levels of why. I have the link to the full training and all of that kind of stuff on my Instagram in the description of this video. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you can go watch that very short video and then get the graphic if that will help you. So you have to start figuring out what is at the root of this. What is causing you to react this way? So those are a couple of the reasons why we can overreact. I want to share with you, though, something about my own self that causes me to overreact. I'm ENFJ A, right? I've talked about like personality types and the Myers-Briggs tests and all this kind of stuff in previous videos. And, just to be clear, like, I definitely do not believe that these are, foolproof. There's obviously going to be errors in the test. So, and I just say that to be clear about, like, just because you took the test, doesn't mean that, one, you know yourself now, and number 2, that you always have to be in that construct, right? You're free to be whoever you want to be. It's just nice. It's just a nice baseline to be able to tell who you are, to get to know yourself better, your strengths and weaknesses and that kind of thing. So anyway, I'm ENFJ. My J is very high. So the J stands for judgment. Like, I have a very strong sense of right and wrong. And it's like in the 90s, like in the high 90s. So that for me tells me, when I look at a situation, I'm going to try to figure out right or wrong first. My initial reaction will always be what's right, what's wrong. I'm not going to see all the thousands of possibilities in the gray at first, right? I can do that, and I've worked to be able to do that, but my sense of justice and again, right and wrong and who deserves what is so high that I can tell. I can tell when that's being like ignited in me. I can tell when I'm hearing a story or dealing with a situation in my own life that this is being ignited. The thing that I hate the most is lies. Like, I can tell when somebody is lying to me, and I literally cannot stand it. And I can tell immediately that J is being, activated. And that my first reaction is to just destroy the person who's telling me the lie. So you need to know yourself. This is part of knowing yourself. This is also being responsible for your reactions and overreactions especially. I've talked a lot about on this channel as well the difference between reacting and responding, and why we need to, you overreact because you're reacting. You need to shift from doing that into responding. Responding to a situation is exactly what I just described. You know yourself, you know your past history, you know if there's any type of unresolved trauma that you have yet to deal with, or if you're in the process of healing from trauma, you're aware of that, you know it, and you're able to take into account your personality, your perspective on a situation, all of these things all at one time, right? Like, you're able to reflect on that as an event is unfolding, and you're able to choose a response. That's responding. Reacting is you hear information and you make a decision. You hear information and you quickly impulsively do something. And usually these people will say, I didn't even think about it, I just did it naturally. That's because you have a trauma response built in. Usually it's trauma response. Sometimes it can be just learned behavior. Maybe you never learned like how to communicate in an effective way because maybe you grew up in a house where yelling and just shouting at people was acceptable, and that's the only way that you learn to communicate. So sometimes it's not a trauma response necessarily, it's just a learned behavior. But nonetheless, when you are overreacting, you still have something built into you that is telling you to react, let alone overreact, right? Like you didn't just not respond to the situation in an appropriate way and like out of impulse, but you overdid it. There is such a thing as overreacting, and you still are responsible for that. Just because it's you did it without thinking, just because it's a built-in response that you have, doesn't mean that you're not responsible for it. And that was really the conversation that my best friend and I were having is, no, you're still responsible for that. Regardless of if you react, overreact, or respond, the way that you handle any given situation is your responsibility. You are 100% responsible for your actions 100% of the time. It doesn't matter what else is going on. When you see that there's a situation that occurred where you did not handle it in the ideal manner, you wish you could go back and do it again. That's a learning opportunity for you to really get at, why did you do that? Why did you respond or react or overreact that way? And start doing small things throughout the day, because typically what will happen is people will think, okay, I shouldn't have said that, heat of the moment, whatever, got in an argument, and so then I said these things. But the situation that led up to whatever was said in the heat of the moment is really the thing that you need to be dealing with. You're seeing the effect, but you're not addressing the cause, if that makes sense. So learning how to have a peaceful inner life, regardless of your outside world, that's something that you need to develop. This does have to do with self-control. This does have to do with mindfulness. These are things that you can work on throughout the day. So while I think a lot of people look at past behavior and they think like, okay, I need to change that. I didn't like how I reacted. I didn't like what I said. I didn't like how I behaved. They wait until there's another big event and then try to handle it differently in the moment, when they haven't been building and making the correct changes throughout the day in like regular life before there's a big event. Because the way that I handle my normal life is just going to be highlighted, exaggerated in moments of stress. So whether that's I'm in an uncomfortable situation that I don't want to be in, whether it's because I'm in an interpersonal argument, whatever it is, you're going to find out what my inner life is built upon when you put me in a stressful environment. It's exaggerated in those moments. So if you want to make a change, you don't want to overreact. You don't even want to be reacting anymore. You want to be responding. You need to make small changes to your normal life, because that's simply highlighting how you normally are. That's simply highlighting the things that are inside of you. The way that you normally handle your internal world is coming out in those moments of stress, in those moments when everything is not in your control and you feel overwhelmed and even attacked or that people are against you. You're going to find out what's actually on the inside during those situations. So instead of waiting for another stressful situation to try to handle it better in the moment, you need to start doing small changes to your life during your normal day when there's not that big external pressure on you, before this huge event happens, or you get around the person that pushes your buttons or whatever. You need to prepare for those things by making small changes to your daily life. So you guys, I hope this video has helped you. I know it's a little bit different than stuff I normally talk about on this channel, but I thought it was really important, and I hope this helps you know a little bit more about yourself, about why you do what you do, why you say what you say, why you choose the people that you choose, and why you have the behavior and the habits that you have, as well as knowing that you can change anything that you want anytime that you want. You don't have to wait for the new year. You don't have to wait for a big catastrophe to happen in order to start making these changes. In fact, don't wait until that happens. Life is going to happen. There's going to be tragedy and tragic events that happen in life, but you can do things right now to prepare for that, to make sure that you are, you have the most capable coping mechanisms possible before something like that happens. You don't need to live in fear of what is going to happen when so-and-so comes, or if something is said to you, or if you get put into a certain type of environment. You don't have to live with that type of dread and anxiety. You can start making changes right now. So you guys, again, thank you so much for tuning into this video. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel below and turn on the little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video to this channel.